A New York man is suing CVS after a pharmacist disclosed information about his prescription. So the man purchased his meds, told the pharmacy, I'm going to pay out of pocket. I don't want my insurance to cover this. Well, a few days later, the man claims his wife calls up the pharmacy about her own medication. Then an employee brought up his prescription to her. Here's the problem. The prescription was for the little blue pill.
Yes.
Now the man says his marriage has broken down as a result. And I got to tell you, there are so many elements to this. I read the story first, I'm thinking, okay, he may have a claim here, but you think that the marriage is over because he was taking it to cheat.
That's absolutely what I think, right? As a woman, if you don't know he's ordering that Viagra.
No question, I think there's issues with this marriage.
More importantly, it gets back to privacy of your medical information. You have rights. Join us in the audience to weigh in on this story is legal analyst Sara Azari, because no matter why this potentially ruined their marriage, this shouldn't happen. I want to ask you legally, what's going to happen now?
It doesn't really matter under the law whether it's a blue pill or it's ibuprofen. It's your private health information, which is protected by HIPAA. It's federal law, and the mere fact that you're married does not waive that privacy. There are very specific exceptions to that law, including whether there's a court order, a subpoena, domestic violence, child abuse, things that are very compelling that will allow the medical provider, or the pharmacy in this case, to disclose that information. Or in the alternative, the person signs a release and waives their privacy, essentially, for the medical doctor to release the information. When I say medical doctor, the law applies to anyone. It's very broad. It applies to any entity or individual that has health information of the patient. So pharmacists, physical therapists, doctors, insurance plans, they're all covered, and the law calls for fines for each incident, so it can range from $100 to $50,000. But I think this man also has additional claims. He's claiming his marriage fell apart. He's claiming that he's suffering from distress as a result of it. So under New York law, he could possibly sue for emotional distress. I don't think it was intentional. I think it's probably more like negligent infliction of emotional distress. And there's also professional malpractice on the part of the pharmacist, but that would require foreseeability. I mean, does this pharmacy employee know that by inadvertently blurting this out, that a marriage is going to fall apart? I mean, it's a bit of a stretch.
I've literally walked into a pharmacy and said, hey, I'm here to pick up a prescription for so-and-so. They hand it to me, I sign. How is that not a HIPAA violation?
It is a violation. They're supposed to check for ID. You're supposed to pick up your own prescription. If you're having someone else pick it up, you're supposed to have...
Well, the problem is a lot of times people are too sick to pick up their own prescriptions, so that's why we always have loved ones or even friends.
Once, pharmacies start paying a price for this and being sued and paying fines, then they're going to be more careful about their compliance with the law.
So if you wanted to pick up a prescription for someone else, they would have to give the okay for it.
Absolutely.
And they're then giving, And I will say, as doctors, we're so in tune with HIPAA. I'm very strict on that, but it moves beyond the hospital, it moves beyond the clinic. It's happening in pharmacies across the country.
And marriage is not an exception to HIPAA. I mean, it doesn't matter how close you are with someone.
So the only scenario where it's okay is obviously if it's a minor and you are the legal guardian or parent.
If there's a fugitive on the run, if there's a crime afoot, if there's a court order, a subpoena, domestic violence, very compelling exceptions, or if you sign a release and waive your privacy rights.
I mean, Sarah, is it just professionals that are held to this standard, or even a lay person? Is that a HIPAA violation?
It depends on how you came in contact with that information. If you come in contact with that information because you have had a professional relationship with the patient, I've seen it happen with even massage therapists. People that are not necessarily as professional as you in the sense of their academics and their degree, but it's still considered a medical provider under this law. It's very broad in terms of the application to the entity or the individual. If you're considered a medical provider under the law, which pretty much everyone is, and you give out private health information without a waiver, without any of those exceptions being in place, then you're liable and you're fined.
Sarah, this is fascinating. I think the results of this case will probably set a big precedent.
Absolutely.
And the way we pick up our prescription medicines is probably going to change.
I agree.
So thank you so much.
Thank you.